Hey everybody, I'm no 3D printing expert. I just use it to improve things in my other hobbies like photography and bass guitar. But what if you find a model for something that you really like, but you don't have a 3D printer? Not everybody has a 3D printer, and quite honestly, not everybody wants to invest all the time needed to learn how to use one. They got better things to do. What if you could upload a design, pick a material, and have it shipped to your door? Wouldn't that be cool? I did exactly that. I searched for online printing services. I found CraftCloud, and then I uploaded 4 separate parts and had them printed in 3 different materials. I wanted to see what it would be like. How expensive is it? What's the quality? How fast is the service? And is this something that I would use? I wanted to know if I could recommend this to people when I do a video about a particular bracket or something like that. Here's a quick demo of the ordering process. Drag and drop, pick your units, typically millimeters. It'll analyze your model. Then click the Show Materials and Prices button, and it'll take a little bit to calculate the prices. And you'll see the numbers changing. And you scroll down and find what you want. And stainless steel, or in this case, PET G. Select the material. Choose your infill. 20% is usually pretty good. Select the finish. We'll go with black. Maybe purple next time. And here's all the vendors. Pick a delivery date and price you like, and you're off to the races. Let me show you the 4 objects that I wanted to print. First one was the bracket that I designed to hold a camera on a copy stand. And this is my own version of the bracket. And you can see that it fits on a piece of 3030 aluminum channel. So it goes like this. The camera fits in place. Tighten the knob. And now we've got this great device that acts as a tripod. In fact, that's what I use when I'm doing these videos. I've got a camera on one of these. But I wanted to print one that would be a little bit longer so that the flippy thing on my other camera would be able to swing out. And I also wanted to make it out of more robust material. Second thing I decided to print was this. This is my 35mm rewinder. It holds, you put 2 rolls in there attached together, and you can wind from one roll to the other. In complete darkness, it will do that. And there's a little dot here which shows you the frames as they go by. I wanted to print this because I wanted something that was non-trivial. There's actually a mechanism in here with a little sprocket that turns, that moves that little dot around. So this is my own print that I made some months ago, but I wanted to do this in a fresh print to see how well the service could print it, whether the parts would fit together like that. This is Home Assistant Green. This is a hub for home automation, and I wanted to put this on one of the joists in my basement so that it's up and out of the way. I looked in printables for a bracket, figuring maybe somebody's made one, and somebody designed this really neat looking bracket that has all these curves and everything. And I printed my own version, but I wanted to do something better. I thought this would be excellent to print in like resin, but I don't know anything about printing in resin. I don't have a resin printer. So why not have the service do that? Finally, I wanted to have some fun and make something in metal. I've never seen 3D printed metal up close and personal. And one of the options that I found when I was working with the service was that you could print stuff in stainless steel. So I decided to have something small and relatively not freakishly expensive printed in stainless steel. And I decided one of the easiest things to print would be a thumb rest for my bass. So a thumb rest is a little thing that looks like this. That's a thumb rest. And here's another one. And it goes just above the strings on the bass. This is an old school thing that most bassists don't even know they exist. And this is back from the James Jamerson days, you know, the 60s and Motown thump. That's when you would see thumb rests appearing on basses. I wanted to see if I could make one using 3D printing. and I modified the model just enough so that it was not easy to make in a machine shop. I put some curves to it. This is what I did, and we'll see how that one comes out. I had the camera bracket and the 35mm roll loader thingy printed in ABS. It's a nice, strong plastic. It is should be dimensionally sound. And it's a plastic I have never printed in, so I wanted to see what it would be like if I had the surface printed. This is the camera bracket that I had printed. This is ABS, and it's good and solid. This is not going to twist or break or anything like that. This is going to serve me quite a long time. This cost $22.18. I sent it to be printed on March 9th. It arrived at my house March 19th, 10 days later. Here's the original that I printed at home in PET G. And you can see that when I had the new one made, I made it a bit longer. And that was, again, to allow the distance for me to be able to flip the display on the camera open. The only issue I have with this one is that you can see this not very pleasant looking surface here. And that's because the design of this part, you can see that that's a surface that's set in and requires supports. They obviously printed this in this orientation with this face on the build plate. And in order to have this surface be off of the build plate, they had to use supports. Fortunately, this is not a surface that will be visible because the camera mount itself covers it. There, see that? It's a very tight fit. Wow. That is snug. It's snug enough so it's not going to even fall out on its own. All right, let me put the screw in and get this thing together. Okay, there's that. We need these, and these, and one of these. There, it's perfect. This was absolutely worth 23 bucks. I have no problems with this camera bracket. This is going to serve me well, and I avoided having to buy ABS and learn how to print with it, get all the fiddly settings right by just ordering it from a service that knows what they're doing. This is cool. Let's move on to the next part. And here are the pieces of the 35mm roll loader gadget. And it looks really nice. This cost me a total of $26.14. This actually went to the same service that printed the camera bracket, so I ordered this on March 9th. It arrived March 19th, 10 days later. And I had this printed in ABS as well. And it's solid. The pieces fit together perfectly. And let me just compare it with the original. This is the original part that I printed in PET G. And here's the part that I had printed in ABS. And it's kind of hard to get the light just right, but this, I actually like the ABS finish better. It's more of a satiny looking finish. It's high quality. The only gripe I might have is I'm not very happy with the way the bottom appears, but with ABS, I actually could finish that and make it smoother. The bottom on this one, my textured build plate made it look a lot nicer. But that's a quibble. This thing looks great. The sprocket came out with its teeth and it fits in the hole absolutely perfect. And let's see if this little plug thing fits. This moment of truth here. I haven't even tried this. There it is. The plug fit in there just right. And just like on my original, I don't have any glue holding this plug in place. It just fits snugly by its own. So here you can see the plug is in there, and you can see the sprockets in there. I haven't put the little piece of filament in that hole so that you'll actually see the hole going around, but this is a perfectly functional part. Here's the lid. Same thing I had with the bottom. The issue was the finish on this. It looks like they may have used like glue or something on the build plate. Not a problem. I could sand that if I wanted, but it fits perfect. A very functional part. This is the bracket for my home assistant device. And this thing is superb. It's absolutely smooth. There's no weird bumps or anything on it. This looks like it came from the factory. This is perfect. I had this printed in what they called tough resin MSLA, something I'm unfamiliar with, but I looked at the different materials and this one looked like it was a good fit for what I was doing. Something that is very, well, it's tough, as it says in its name, and something that can be used for a part that's under load. And this cost a total of $21.63. I ordered it on March 3rd, and it arrived on March 13th, 10 days later. This is the original part that I printed in PETG. You can see the layer lines, and these little wings on the corners have bumps. It's functional. This is a functional part. It's not as attractive as I would like. This looks like the kind of thing where you order something online and then it arrives and you look at it, you're like, yeah, it's a 3D printed thing. And you know that, of course, for the price point they're selling it, of course it's 3D printed, but it's always a little tiny bit disappointing. Whereas this thing looks professionally made. This looks like it came from a factory. Everything is absolutely perfect. There are no weird bumps, no nothing. This is amazing. Let's put it on. So I hang the hub like this. So we'll put the bracket like this. That's amazing. It fit absolutely perfect. Everything was dimensionally correct. I didn't have to wiggle or force anything. The screws just dropped into place. This is as much a testimony to the quality of the original model as to the quality of the printing service. I was really happy with this. For $22, this was worth it. This was worth every penny. This is going to be in service for many years. Finally, from China, the 3D printed thumb rest. Let's take a look at it. Came double boxed. We've got a booklet with all of their stuff that they make wrapped up in multiple layers. There it is. This is the stainless steel thumb rest. The finish is, I would call that a glass beaded finish. It's rough, but it's not a sandblasted finish. There's a difference between regular sandblasting and when they use what's called glass beads as a media, and it gives it a dimpled look. That's the finish I was talking about. It's a glass beaded finish. And I ordered it with what they called satin glossy, and it was described exactly as a glass beaded finish. And of course, everything is dimensionally perfect. The holes, it's exactly the right place. I'll be able to put this on my base without any concern. For further comparison, this is a manufactured brass thumb rest. You can see it's seen some use as the paint has worn off. And here are my models I made before I sent this to be printed. This one is a standard shape, kind of boring. And I decided I needed to do something a little different because I could make this one myself. So I went and started putting these curves on the sides. And this one you can see, I wrote on it, "Think deep." And I was going to see if the lettering would show up, but I didn't like the chunky appearance of it. And so I finally settled on this one here, which is much thinner at the top, and it's going to look better on the instrument. And indeed, there it is. This part cost $58.44. Most of that was shipping. $32.50 was shipping because this came from China. And the manufacturing cost, $25.94. I ordered this part on March 6th and it arrived on March 13th. This took 7 days, 7 calendar days from me placing the order to me having the part. Was it worth it? No! 60 bucks for this little piece of metal. You can buy this one all day long online for around $10. Someday I'll do something really cool. I make one in the shape of a sleeping cat or something like that. And that will absolutely be worth having printed online because it's going to cost the same thing, $60. For now, I'm going to put this on the instrument, and I think that texture is going to feel good as I'm playing. So I'm happy with it. It was definitely worth it for the experience and learning the capabilities of 3D printing stainless steel. In the end, I was really happy with the results. My favorite is this bracket for the Home Assistant Green. This thing looks so professional. Just stoked, and it's going to be put into service immediately, and it will probably be holding this gadget on the joist in my basement for the next 5 years. This was perfect, and the cost was just about right. The camera bracket, well, that's in place already. I've got the camera mounted on it right now. If anything, I did notice that when I went to put that on the 3030 channel, it was snug. I don't think that's a defect in the manufacturing. I think that's maybe the tolerance is a little tighter. And maybe when I printed on my printer, the tolerance was a little looser. The different materials, we're talking a difference of maybe 0.010 of an inch. Man, I'm gonna have to fight to get that thing off. So I'll probably go in there with a file or something and smooth those surfaces to make it so that it goes on a little bit easier. Other than that, this camera bracket is perfect. It's strong, solid, and it will serve me for quite some time. As far as the 35mm roll splitter gadget goes, it's nice. I already have one, and mine has the little dot there, and it works just fine. But I can safely say to others who want to try one of these out that they can use a printing service to print the parts, and it will work. So that was really the goal when I printed this one. I wanted to make sure a non-trivial multiple piece part could be printed and everything would fit together. And finally, the stainless steel base thumb rest turned out really nice. I'm happy with it. And if I ever need a part printed in stainless steel, I know what to expect. It's a little bit pricey, but if you've got a part that needs this, you can have it done. I suspect that if I had to print 10 of these, the total cost would be much, much less because of economy of scale. They'll probably charge me less per part, and then I'm not going to pay that much more in shipping to ship 10 of these versus one of these. Kind of a funny thing with this little metal part, when I ordered it, I had to provide a description of what it was, that it seemed a little bit more like a legal document kind of thing. I think that goes on the customs paperwork perhaps, and maybe it's their way of making sure you're not putting, I don't know, firearms parts or something like that. But it was kind of interesting that I had to describe it. This is a bass guitar thumb rest, and that probably went through the customs documentation. When I began this process, I had no idea what to expect, and I was pleasantly surprised. This was a very beginner-friendly process. I was able to easily upload my models and choose the materials, choose the color and the finish, and then a couple weeks later, my parts showed up, and they looked great. Go ahead and download something fun from Thingiverse or Printables and give this a shot. If you've never printed anything before, this is a great way to get started. Even if you're a veteran of 3D printing, it's still a pretty cool way to be able to test materials you've never tried before. Let me know in the comments if you've printed something using an online service. Tell me how it worked out. That's all I got for you today. Thank you for watching.